Hello everyone and welcome back to ESL 65 Pronunciation and Conversation. We're now making our way into Chapter 7. We're kind of in the heart of the textbook now, heart of the curriculum. We've talked about syllables, we've talked about consonant sounds, we've talked about vowel sounds, and we've talked about endings, S endings and ED endings. We have all the building blocks now of how we form words in English. Now we're going to talk about word stress and the rhythm of the pronunciation in English, which if you are able to identify words by their part of speech, you're able to identify a word as a noun, as a verb. The word stress is a lot easier in that regard. So that's what we're going to focus on in this chapter. Have you ever been in conversation with a colleague, a coworker, a neighbor, and you're talking and you say a word and then they say, wait, say that one more time? And you pronounce it again and they still don't understand. And maybe you pronounce it a third time and they say, oh, and they repeat the word, but they repeat the word with different pronunciation. Has that ever happened to you before, where you've been in conversation and you feel like you're not pronouncing a particular word correctly? I guarantee you that that is probably because of word stress. So that's what we're going to focus on this chapter, and hopefully you'll get better with that. Your word stress will improve, and hopefully those situations will not be as common in your conversations day to day. So here we are, Chapter 7. You can access the scanned copies of the textbook here for Chapter 7, and then also the audio. If you click here, and that go along with many of the exercises, the all-important audio is here as well. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in, and you are probably here on the very next page watching this video, the learning objectives. Learning objectives for this chapter, as we said, are to make syllables in words sound stressed. We talked about this in Chapter 3. When we talk about stress, it's not like stress from school or stress from work or, I don't know, maybe even a relationship or a friendship. We're talking about stress, meaning that that particular syllable and the vowel sound in that particular syllable is pronounced stronger, is pronounced clearer, is pronounced more explicitly. You can hear it better. That strong syllable more than any other syllable in the word. We call that what? Word stress. So not stress in a bad way, stress in a good way to help with pronunciation. So we're going to learn how to make syllables in words sound stressed to make your pronunciation more clear and understandable, and your comprehension, your listening comprehension, improve that when you're able to tune your ear to word stress. And then we're going to look at the simple guidelines, some tricks in terms of spelling and parts of speech, simple tricks and guidelines to determine the stress in numbers, 30 and 13, 40 and 14, 50 and 15. Now, how many of you were shopping or something like that and you said, excuse me, how much for these pair of shoes? And they say $50. Wait. 50 or 15? Even native English speakers need to do that from time to time because they're very similar to each other. So we'll talk about word stress with numbers, with nouns, and with verbs. Nouns and verbs, they have pretty much a straightforward rule in terms of which syllable is often stressed. And we'll go over those rules together for nouns and verbs. So in summary, in words with two or more syllables, remember to have a syllable needs to have a vowel sound. Okay, it needs to have at least one vowel sound, and usually one or more consonant sounds. A syllable, to form a syllable, you need two things. You need a vowel sound, and then more often than not, you have at least one or more consonant sounds. So for for syllables that have, let's try that again. For words that have two or more syllables, one syllable is stronger than the other. And words that have 2 or more syllables, and you know this, one syllable you can hear more clearly is pronounced stronger than the other. All right, this chapter we're going to go over those pronunciation guidelines, and you'll have ample opportunities to practice these stress patterns. So here you've clicked on this video, and our warm-up is the first exercise in chapter 7, exercise 1. Okay, so listen on CD1 track 53 and circle the word you hear. Then check the correct response based on the word that you think you heard. For example, number 1, I was so busy today. First, I returned that book on Southwestern desserts. Desserts, not deserts, really dry climate deserts, desserts. Notice the word stress on the second syllable as compared to the word stress here on the first syllable. So if we're talking about desserts, well then we must be talking about food, and not deserts, talking about geography, right? So go ahead and go through these. I'm going to give you the answers here in the next page. But go ahead and go through these and see if you can identify based upon, look at the syllable, look at the stress. Do you hear the first syllable as being stressed? Or do you hear the second syllable as being stressed? These are different words, right? Desert and dessert are different words. Message and massage are very different words. Comedy and committee are different words, and these are different numbers, right? 40 and 14. So have a listen to CD1 track 53 and see if you can identify, see if you can identify which word based upon the strong syllable is being used, and then choose the corresponding response that makes sense in terms of the context. Welcome to Chapter 7 of English Pronunciation and Conversation, and I look forward to seeing you in the rest of this module.